Hello friends, how's it going? It's Michael Parker and welcome back. As we approach this Independence Day, 4th of July, 2023, my mind turns to the symbols of our nation, primarily the flag and its colors, the stars and stripes, Old Glory. Today's complex political climate has made something as simple as flying the American flag a potential microaggression or display of toxic nationalism. How did we arrive at such a place of unfortunate irrationality? Our guest today is that rarest of species, a Hollywood conservative and unapologetic proud American. John Richard Schneider is most famously known as Bo Duke from the 1980s hit show The Dukes of Hazzard, a show that is synonymous with the 1980s and still has a massive fan following despite being canceled for its Confederate flag that was on the roof of the show's iconic hot rod, the General Lee. John Schneider's long acting career also includes roles on Smallville and Tyler Perry's The Haves and the Have-Nots, not to mention his many film roles and a successful music career of 20 albums and 5 #1 country hit singles. This interview took place a few days before the 2022 midterm election and in conjunction with the release of his film To Die For. We discussed the flag, the value of voting, and why conservatives need to stop being meek, and much, much more in this episode. Are you coming to us from Louisiana today?
I am, yep. I'm in Louisiana outside of Baton Rouge, a little town called Holden, where we shot the movie To Die For, right here at John Schneider Studios. My lovely bride and I opened this a couple of years ago, and we are 15 movies strong now. 15 independent, totally independent films strong. And I'm very, very proud of that.
Well, we are going to talk about the film because you're an interesting person to me. You know, I grew up in West Texas, and I'm of the age that Dukes of Hazzard was a big, big deal. Enjoyed that, loved it. And you, because I live in LA, I've been here since the early 90s, and I used to have a lot more friends than I do now.
They're not your friend anymore. You don't need them.
That's probably true.
True that, right? True that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about this film because I bought the film this morning. I actually had a doctor's appointment this morning, and you in the film, your character goes to the doctor. It was funny because I'm watching your film on my phone at the doc. So I'm about halfway through it, and I've got to say, man, it's gritty, it's funny, and in some cases, it's kind of hard to watch at times because you're touching on some things that are quite potent right now. What was your inspiration to do this? Did you feel like you just had to get this out here, or what was on your mind when you created this film?
Yeah, I had to get this out before the midterms. Absolutely vital to get it out before the midterms because my feeling was that it would give voice to the otherwise silent majority, and I don't know why they're silent. That's a mystery to me. I'm from New York State, and I just being silent and timid just have never been part of me. But little over a year ago, about a year ago, we were in some event in the West. I think we were in Arizona, and I had read an article or something had come across my Facebook feed or something that had said that a man had gone to jail rather than adhere to a restraining order that was keeping him from driving within 300 yards of the local high school with the American flag on the back of his truck. And when I heard about that, so here's a guy that would prefer to go to jail than to take the flag off of his truck. And I thought, I need to play that guy because I'm that guy. I am that guy. So I sat down and I started writing something. I talked to my bride. We were in the process of, I was writing another film, the third of our Southern Horsepower comedy installment. And I said, baby, I think I need to stop working on that and work on this because this has got to be out before the midterms next year so that people understand not only the importance of voting, but also the value of their voice, regardless of what the not so silent minority would have them think. So we had a self-imposed goal of last Thursday, October 20th. We met it. We met the goal. The movie is out now on, you can stream the movie now. You can pre-order the DVD at our website. And I already have people saying to me, I wasn't going to vote because I thought, why bother? And then when you said that in the doctor's office, my doctor says, why bother? I say, that's just what they want you to think. Now they're reconsidering, and they are going to get to the polling places, and they are going to vote. So win, 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 as far as I'm concerned.
John, you do manage to touch on quite a few hot button topics in the course of the film. We get the jab in there, we get voting in there, we get the kneeling in there. And by the way, I'm a lot, you can't be from Texas and not like football. So I'm a lifelong football fan.
Right.
And yeah, the whole kneeling thing. I mean, listen, I'm pro free speech. It's just sometimes things get a little weird when I wonder if it's disingenuous when it becomes corporate sponsored and stuff. And your character, I think, gets a little irked by all of this.
Well, absolutely, and I'm for free speech as well. But I believe that when you're exercising of your freedoms, start crossing over and usurping other people's freedoms, then you've gone too far. So in a very simple sense, you have under freedom of speech, you have the right to do all that but which is wrong. And wrong, and I don't care who you are, wrong has got to be disrespecting our military, disrespecting those who have given life and limb for our freedoms. That I'm 62. I was too young for Vietnam, too old for anything else. So the freedoms that I enjoy every day, I did not have to pay for.
Right.
So when my exercising of my freedom disregards the sacrifice of other people and of their families who have lost loved ones, who have sacrificed their lives for our freedom, then you've gone too far. And I do believe that is inarguable. So when you disrespect the flag, you are, in fact, in my opinion, you are disrespecting the military, the men and women who have given everything for our freedoms. And that is too far. The left doesn't believe anything is too far unless, of course, it's conservative. They rally in favor of basically, really. I mean, if you look at it in black neighborhoods, they have Planned Parenthood. In white neighborhoods, they have fertility clinics. So if they can't see that Planned Parenthood appears to be only in minority neighborhoods and they are all about abortion, let's use a little logic. What does that tell you? They are there to systematically annihilate minorities. And yet when they're on, publicly, they're saying that they love minorities and they're doing all of this for the rights of minorities. We know that's patently not true. It's just not true. And they know it as well. So this movie endeavors to kind of turn the lights on and let the roaches run around in the kitchen for a little while before you stomp them with your boots.
We've talked a lot about eugenics on the show in the past, so I'm with you on that. You have a quote about the film that tickles me. It says, "This movie is intensely patriotic," says Schneider unapologetically. "If patriotism offends you in any way, watch this film. If you are still offended, move."
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it.
We live in the greatest country in the world. And I remember it was about 2 years ago, I said that on my YouTube channel, taking it as a given that anyone who lives in this country believes that they live in the greatest country in the world. And about 2 years ago, I started getting a little bit of pushback. Oh, no, we don't. This is a terrible country. And I'm thinking,
right. Well,
then leave. You just need to leave and make room for those who appreciate what they have. You can't be in a country and really commit treason against it and expect the rights that you are rallying against to protect you at the same time. I mean, I realize that's an exercise in pardon the expression, mental masturbation, but that's all it is. You cannot have it both ways. And they seem to want to. I'm doing some show this week where I want to ask them, why is it that you hate women so much? Why do you hate 13-year-old athletic girls so much that you will allow 13-year-old athletic boys to come in and break every record they ever had a dream of setting? Why do you hate young women? Why do you hate older women? Allowing, supporting the notion that men can compete in women's sports at a 13-year-old level or at a 30-year-old level, and their records are being systematically annihilated by these men who are pretending to be women. Now, I have no problem whatsoever with the notion of people who are transgender. That's fine, but don't use that as a tool to express your hatred of women. That's my feeling about it. We didn't go there in To Die For, but maybe we'll do another movie called To Dress For, and we'll go there then.
Well, let me try this on you, because my wife and I were talking about the movie before I came out here to the studio, and so she hasn't seen it yet. We'll watch it together. But I hope you take this the right way. But one thing that I was taking away from this is, like, your figure is kind of an anti-hero. And I wanted to make sure I got this right, because the description of anti-hero is a central character in a novel play who lacks her traditional heroic virtues. Well, that's weird, because I think we've kind of changed the way we look at the anti-hero. I think guys like you and I, now we're the anti-heroes in the post-woke phenomena, when they use things like January 6th and they talk about white supremacy and all this. Basically, in my opinion, people with traditional values, they're trying to make them the enemy now.
Absolutely. No, they are. Did you get as far in the movie to where we actually, the girl asked me, what's it like being the anti-hero? Did you get that far?
No, are you kidding me?
Yeah, it's in there. It's in there.
Well, brother, we're on the same page there.
And I say, it's just, I say, I know what the anti-hero is. It just never occurred to me that I was it.
I can't. I had not gotten there yet. But that's.
I love that. I love that.
Well, I relate to your character.
I'm sorry, we're talking over each other, folks. We're doing that because we're using technology here,
and we're having fun. But the part of telling a good story, I believe, is being totally upfront. You've got to be your characters have to appear to be transparent, but there is it is storytelling, so there is manipulation involved in it. So as you watch the film further, I think you'll discover more and more things about Gunnery Sergeant E7 Quint North that you'll be surprised about. I had a friend the other day after they watched the movie. They said, John, you're a lot like Archie Bunker, but I agree with everything you say in this movie. Well, the thing about Archie Bunker, because I'm just 2 years behind you, John. I remember All in the Family, and it was a really powerful television show because Archie Bunker said the things that many people were thinking but did not have the guts to say, and that was powerful social commentary in the guise of comedy.
Well, yeah, and also Norman Lear, I think I can't speak for him, but I think that his intention was to show, albeit funny, it was hysterical. I loved the show, but I think he was trying to show the ugly nature of that kind of bigot in a funny way.
Yes,
and we use a bit of that in this film, but only to familiarize you with this character and his surroundings, and then to kind of educate you about where these feelings come from within Quint North. So I'm very proud of this movie. It's not something that I sat down and had to really toil over, because I do believe it was inspired. As soon as I heard that story about the guy, I started to write it, and it just poured out of me. And I have had several career military folks who have seen it, who have given me more than the thumbs up. They've been, thank you for making this movie, because nobody understands what we do or how we feel when someone takes a knee in front of our glorious flag. They don't know what that flag means to us and meant to us, or we never would have fought to keep it flying. So, those folks are important. They are important to us. We need to not only value them, but we need to express to them how much we appreciate what they have given up, been willing to give up, family members who have given up loved ones for our freedom. We must never, never show ourselves to be unappreciative to those people.
John, there were conflicts
for me, same thing goes for our law enforcement. For me, as far as I'm concerned,
yes,
we need to respect our law enforcement. We need to thank them for their service, because now I think more than ever they are here under totally unfair pressure. No longer. When I was a kid, we had Captain Jack McCarthy used to show me cartoons. I'm not sure what in New York State, and so my relationship with as a very young person was that police were great and good and wonderful, and I still believe that they're great and good and wonderful. Are there bad apples out there? Bad apples everywhere, but you cannot define an entire section of our society or an entire workforce by a couple of folks acting poorly. That's folly. It's ridiculous. And but that is what they do on the left, because they're all about sensationalism and diversion and making sure that their demographic buys their soap, whether it cleans their hands or not.
Here again, I'm a free speech guy, and the more speech, the better. But when I was growing up, your show was huge. Leonard Skinner had Confederate flags. I mean, nobody looked at that, I don't think, saying, hey, you know what? Exploitations of humans is a good thing. It was part of history. It existed. And then Dukes of Hazzard and the car and the flag, all of this came under heavy criticism a few years ago.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And the only thing the reason I bring this up is just because as we approach this midterm, I think this is coming back to bite the left in the butt, because while we were worried about things like that, real problems have arisen.
Yes.
People are trying to pay their bills. And so I think that sometimes they push this too far and it bites them in the butt.
They do push it too far. And what they don't seem to understand is we're not stupid. Now, They may be, however. I mean, we know that Nike products are made in China. Okay. Nike products are made in China by slave labor. Today, there are slaves. There is slavery in Africa today. There is slavery in many places throughout the world today that these globalist, socialist, communistic folk, Marxist folk do business with on a daily basis.
Yes.
And yet they want to continue to lament about the past of the United States of America. They want to take a symbol. I believe, I'm from New York. I believe that the rebel flag is a symbol of not putting up with the status quo. It's a symbol of I am not going to adhere to the establishment's rules and regulations. I'm not going to believe that it's true simply because they say so. So I believe it means an entirely different thing, as I think Leonard Skinner did, as I think the Rolling Stones did, as I think Charlie Daniels did, as I know Uncle Jesse, Bo Luke, Daisy Cooter, and Enos, and Roscoe, and Boss Hogg all thought what I think now. So you don't have to take it at face value. When someone says something to you that is in your soul absurd, explore it, examine it, But once you realize that these people who are talking about freedom, who are all in favor of abortion and slave labor in China, you've got to, again, I say, you cannot have it both ways.
Right.
And they try to have it both ways. They have bullied you and I, or they have tried to bully us into believing that our vote in November does not count. We must not believe that either. You must vote in November. Too many people have died for your right to do so.
I agree. And I have friends who are extremely intelligent who are buying this. They have become cynical over time and they're not voting, but by God, I am voting. It is the least that I can do.
You've got to talk them out of that, because that is part of the plan.
I know.
It's insidious. And what is a great saying? Bad things happen when good people do nothing. So we have got to vote. They've got to vote, folks. Vote. Watch this movie. It'll help you talk about it. todieformovie.com or todiefordvd.com.
I read in some of the notes about the film, you made this in 10 months with 10 friends. Wow. I mean, that's another thing. I mean, you made a feature film, 10 months, 10 buddies.
Well, we had scheduling issues, and my wife and I tour. I tour with music, and we're, we have other things that we do. So I couldn't sit down and just do it in a regular schedule. And we had to deal with the schedule of Marcus Dupree, who was in it, and our cinematographer, who, by the way, is a Marine, an Emmy Award-winning Marine, by the way. Sean Fairburn was the camera operator that filmed the troops coming over the bridge into Fallujah in Operation in Iraqi Freedom. So we had to do it when people were available. And many times I couldn't get everybody together at the same time. But nowadays, with the magic of imagination and the occasional green screen, you can put people in scenes and they don't necessarily ever have to be in the same place at the same time. But I didn't want the schedule to cause us to fail to meet our deadline. I mean, I knew the clock was ticking. I had promised the movie was going to come out on October 20th, and I promised that, I think, in January. So it was a labor of love. It was not difficult, though. I wish I could say it was labor intensive, but everything seemed to fall into place once we decided we were just going to make this film come hell or high water. And it's been doing incredibly well. We have, for us, record streaming. That is our streaming service, by the way. Folks, we're not of the ilk where we complain about the likes of Netflix and then secretly want to be in business with them. We don't. Mm-hmm. We have our streaming service. We have our DVD manufacturing company we use outside of Chattanooga, Tennessee. We do not play with those. We do not play privately with those we publicly disagree with.
Your character, Quint North, when we were having the Antihero conversation, you mentioned that there may be some things in the film. And I wasn't trying to play it up like he is this infallible character, because you do kick a woman out the back door or at one point when you're getting some company. But one thing that I like about the film is the relationship with the daughter. I have one daughter in high school, one daughter in college, and they see me sometimes the way your daughter sees you in that character, as if we're a vestige of a bygone day and that we're kind of holding on to things that are no longer relevant. And maybe we're being a little hellraiser for no reason, but I don't believe that. And I think we're setting an example that they will come to hopefully appreciate later.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for noticing that. Yeah, they think we just don't get it. But there's a line in there that where I say to her, she says, you never think of anyone but yourself. And I say, the flag is not about me. The flag is about you. The flag is about you and everybody who's ever been and everybody who ever will be. Right? So this is a notion that perhaps only people who are a little bit older feel, but I don't think so. I think children in rural areas that understand the value of a hard day's work I think that they understand the value of our flag. I think they understand the value of patriotism more than children who are very well manipulated members of a purchasing demographic, because that's what they're looked at as. How can we sell our soap to as many 13-year-olds as humanly possible, regardless of whether or not the soap actually works? That's just what they do. And I don't fault them for it. That's what they do. But I do want to call them out for it. And Quentin North does just that. He can't help it. He can see, as many people his age, your age, my age, can see, the emperor indeed has no clothes.
Well, and another thing I like about this is it centers around something that happens at the school, which is his alma mater. And I don't even fault my daughters when we have these conversations, because I know where this, and both of my daughters are really, really smart. I mean, one of them just made 100 on a calculus test a day or two ago. Like, I was terrible at math, but anyway, they are capable of great knowledge, but they're being indoctrinated and they're given ideas that are being put into their head, and they're absorbing that along with the things that they should be absorbing, that you would typically get in education. That's where this is coming from.
Well, yeah. And I think the big culprit in here, or the big tool that's been used against your children and my children and everybody's children, is the convenience of your cell phone, the convenience of what we're doing right now. I mean, this is a wonderful tool so we can have this interview, me in Louisiana and you there. However, what has happened because of it is people have more of a relationship with their technology than they do with their community. So they've kind of lost track of the value of community and relationships, and friendship and freedom, and boundaries, because this thing we carry in our pocket really knows no boundaries. So it's up to us, I think, through entertainment, through storytelling, to be able to kind of suggest that to younger people. What do I say to her also? She says, "I'm sorry." And I said, "No, you're not. You're not sorry."
Right.
That's one of the problems with your generation, is you think saying you're sorry means anything to anybody. Well, it doesn't. Let's prove it. Show me that you're sorry. Let your actions show that you're sorry. So it's a very fascinating film to me, inspired in many ways by not only my life, I think, well lived, but I do believe, in a Christian sense, that this was a lot of what Quint says is inspired by God to fuel people who feel the same way to be able to speak up about it. And I think, and I don't understand why conservative people by nature are timid and they are afraid to say the things that they are thinking.
John,
That's the number one thing people are telling me. They say, you say the things we want to say in this movie, but we don't have the nerve.
I think it's because a lot of times conservatives, we were raised a certain way, and maybe it's kind of a unilateral Catholic guilt or something, but we're kind of like we're not trying to speak too loud. We're not trying to say, I get down on myself. I'm my own. Sometimes I leave the show and I'm like, man, I probably shouldn't have said that. But no, everybody's afraid. They don't want to put their hand up. They don't, they're afraid they're going to catch a tomato or not get invited to the cocktail party. And that's the one thing the left has been very successful in, is getting conservatives to be afraid.
Yeah, but you know what we have to do is we've got to sit back and think about, do we really want to be a member of that country club? Right. Or do we just, does our desire not to be rejected outweigh our desire not to be a member of a country club we'd never go to anyway?
Brother, you've got like 20 records, and now you just put out another one as well. And I'm looking for the title of it. I apologize. It's Southern
Ways. Southern Ways.
So tell me about it.
Southern Ways, we just did that. We tour with music. I play Branson, I play Arizona. We play all over the place. Southern Ways is a beautiful album that celebrates things that are Southern, because I think Southerners, through the flag on the Dukes of Hazzard car and through a lot of things with people saying antebellum is a bad word, Dixie is a bad word, all of a sudden, all things Southern became bad words to the not so silent minority that I thought it was time for I call myself a recovering Yankee. So a recovering Yankee to do an entire album that glorifies the South, because it is a wonderful, glorious, fantastic place. There is Southern hospitality everywhere, and I love it here. I'm an adopted son of the South, and I wanted to throw my hat in and my vote for Southern excellence rather than Southern nastiness, as they will have you think, while they are dealing with slave labor in China.
Yeah.
And remember that, folks. Remember that. I don't say that lightly. Remember that these companies actively engage with other countries who enslave people today, but they don't care because it affects their bottom line.
I'd like to say thank you to John for coming on to the show. And if you want to know more about John and his latest films, where he's touring, what he's doing, his website is johnschneiderstudios.com. And on Facebook, that's at John Schneider Studios. On Twitter, it's John_Schneider. It's worth noting that John co-founded with Marie Osmond the Children's Miracle Network, and they have raised over $7 billion for medical research and community awareness of children's health issues. They then distributed that money directly to a network of 170 children's hospitals. That's righteous work. Thank you, John, for what you do. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be back in a few days with another episode. I hope you have a wonderful 4th of July week. And until we speak again, keep your heart and your mind open. Peace.